So what's up guys, I'm going to be doing the belts and the pulleys on my BMW 2011 335i sedan, and it has the N55 engine, which on the E90, the N55 engine is very unique in the way the belts and the pulleys are configured, and the way some of the hoses and stuff runs in front of the engine, in front of the belts and pulleys. Now I'm going to do this without removing the radiator fan. The only thing I'm going to remove, as you see already, is the air ducts. That's about it. The parts came in. It's the tensioner and 2 pulleys I'm replacing, as well as the original engine belts, which is covered in oil from the oil filter housing gasket that leaks onto the belts. Now the car only has 57,000 miles, which is weird. The sound's been going on since 55,000 miles. So it's weird that this would fail so prematurely on the car, but it's something most of the owners of this car will have to do every 50,000 miles, and I expect to do it again in 50,000 miles or so. And that's the story. So let's get right into this DIY, and I'll show you guys how to do it. There's no other write-ups on this engine in this car online anywhere. So a lot of this I'm doing this off the top of my head, based on experiences in doing my older E46 BMW. With about $700 in labor and $500 in parts, the dealership wanted over $1,200 for the work I'm about to do in this video, which is insane. And the reason why I do these videos is because it's just outrageous what they charge for simple labor and parts. So before I even begin, my car is 57,000 miles. Engine's cold. And car is parked, so let's go. I want you guys to hear the sound. This is the sound when your pulley tensioner is going. And I don't have a lot of daylight left, but you guys hear that. Let's get right in there. What I'm gonna do in this, because I am outside by myself, it's really cold out here, I'm gonna take stuff apart, then pause and shoot the video as I do the write-up and give you guys tips and tricks. Like I said, belts are straightforward as long as you have the proper tools and you know what to remove, and most of the labor is just removing the parts that get in the way. So I'm just gonna go into it, and I'll see you guys when I get some stuff removed. So guys, already these are a T20 bolt, T20 screw, a torx T20. To remove this engine trim here. So I know I previously said T30, but it's a T20 on this car. I'm not sure where I saw the T30 before. I might have seen it on the Pelican Parts DIY, and that's kind of what I'm following. I read the Pelican Parts DIY for the N54, N52 belts, and that was very different. But a couple of comments below said you could apply it to the other BMW engines. The only difference being that the other BMW engines in the 3 Series, the E90, the only difference being is the trim that you have to remove to get to the belts. So this is a T20 bolt, so you want a T20 torx T20. Oops, I already lost my first screw there, so let's get that out. And that's the thing too, it's good to have something in case you drop your screws. See that? One thing, you don't have to remove this bit. I had a hardest time getting this out, these things out. I actually broke this one on removing it. It broke clean off, and the other piece is actually stuck in there. The only thing is you have to remove the 2 T20 screws here, and that will release this bit here. And to get this out, you have to sort of wiggle this back and forth. You have to push in on this accordion. I think that's why that accordion thing is there. So you have to compress it a little bit to wedge it out, and it comes right out. Now with that trim out, you get clear access to the belts and what you need to do. So I'm just going to remove this metal bar here. It just seems to be clipped in there. And on this you want to pull up, and it comes right off that bracket. That was actually pretty straightforward. And there's another clip there. It's come right out. And it already has a lot of oil in it. So that's as best as I could get that out of the way. So and that's it. You have clear access to the belts. Tensioner bolt should be right there. The tensioner bolt goes in there to release the tension. And you have to just remove the dust caps to remove the pulleys, and then the belt should come off, and then the dust caps and the pulleys. Once you have everything open, you can look around your engine and check for any signs of damages, oil leaks, or anything like that. My oil filter gasket is leaking, my oil filter housing gasket. So I do expect to see oil like all over this part of the engine bay. And that's actually one of the next things I'm doing. So I removed the caps on all the pulleys you see there. Those are the 3 pulleys you're replacing. 1, 2, and a tensioner pulley there. Now, I was a little confused because I took all the caps off and I saw 4 bolts looking at me. And I know the DIY said there should be 3 of these things. Well, the parts I bought were 3. The tensioner is 1 unit and the 2 pulleys as their own units. But when I saw the 4 bolts, I panicked and I was like, oh my god, I got the wrong tensioner. But so I took the tensioner I actually bought to replace it, and I saw that there's a bolt. The main bolt that you release is up here, but there's a bolt that holds the tensioner second pulley to the tensioner itself that you don't have to touch that bolt. So you do not have to touch that bolt. So when you take the caps off, if you see 4 bolts, it's just the top bolt there and the 2 lower bolts on the 2 other pulleys. So don't worry about that pulley when you see it. And that's it. So I have my T60 on my breaker bar. So basically you turn it that way, and it's gonna take 2 hands, but you get the idea. So I released the tension and the belt is free. Key thing, I had to get my longer breaker bar. The tension on that was very tight, tighter than I could remember on my E46. So I needed a longer breaker bar, so it's good to have 2 of these different lengths. I think this one is like 24 and this is a 18 or 19. So it's good to have different lengths of breaker bars, and also different socket adapter. So I have an adapter set here that comes in handy every time for jobs like this, so it's good to have those nearby. Before you remove your belts, I almost forgot. It's very important, even if you have a Bentley manual book in front of you or online DIY pictures, draw the belt pattern that you see as you take the belt out of your car. Like I said, these engines, BMW makes so many of them, and different applications they might use different belt formations. And even I have a Bentley manual and it was a little different than what I'm seeing here. So I did the pattern that I saw. I put X's of the pulleys I'm removing just for sort of reference points. So that's it. And that little dot up there is the alternator one. I usually put an A in that for the alternator pulley. So so that's it. Very important to draw your diagram that you see, not what you're seeing on a picture of someone else's car or a Bentley manual. So do your own diagram and have it right here. So very important to do that. So I just took the belt out, do a quick inspection of this belt. It usually tells a story of what's happening in there. There's oil in the belt, but not as much as I thought would be on the belt. The belt is actually perfect condition, other than the exception that we know oil was leaking on it and the tensioner pulley is out of whack. There's a patch of oil right there. There's something in there, like it looks like a pebble that's covered with oil. That was in the belt there. So overall the belt looks good. There's no cracks or nothing on that belt. I wish I could reuse it again. It's a waste of a good belt, but it's just very important. So I just got the belt out. It's actually a lot easier than I thought. The only tip I would say, the shaft seal pulley down there, the big pulley, the vibration damper pulley, is very tight to get the belt out of that. So what it is, you want to what I did was I went in kind of from this way. I released the belt from that side, looped it out, and just pushed down, and then it came right out and up. So once you get the belt free of those top pulleys, you want to go to the driver's side here, get it off of that pulley down there. I think that's the I want to say the AC compressor pulley, I'm not sure. And then you work back to the shaft seal or vibration damper pulley in the middle there, and then it comes right out. So what I'm going to do now is release the 3 bolts. I'm going to replace the tensioner, definitely. That's that's going, that's making a sound. But also recommendation is to replace the other 2 pulleys. I'm definitely, the most important one for me is this one. And if I can't do those today, I'll try. But kind of can see some of the surface of that pulley. It looks damaged. It's weird. So I'm actually gonna have to replace them because the surface on that pulley looks, all of them, it just looks like they've been through war. All right. One catch, the pulley bolts release by going to the left, even though the tensioner release by pulling to the right. The bolts on the pulley itself that holds the pulley to the engine, you release them going lefty loosely for that and righty tighty. But the tensioner, we yank it that way to release the tension. Just to give you guys a quick tip, I just forgot to mention that. So I got everything out the car. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised how easy this is, considering the labor that the dealership was charging me for literally, I'll put a screen cap at the end of this, what they're charging me for this. I don't know if there's any unseen challenges in putting the new stuff back in, but you see there the 2 pulleys are removed. Very easy. At one point the bolts were, I was just using my old T50 because I couldn't get in there with the big ratchet, so I was just turning loose the bolts. You could do that. Very easy to get to the pulleys, very easy to, so far, I don't know, putting the stuff back in, what that's gonna entail. But honestly, if I wasn't doing the video, I would have been, what is this, the 13 minutes in, I would have done this in maybe like, as a first timer, I would have maybe taken 10 minutes just to get everything out like the way I have it here, with using the tools. The tools is what makes the job easy. If you don't have the proper tools, you'll be out here like 3-4 hours. But I'm surprised how easy this is. It's kind of scaring me because I know these cars, there's always something in the works at the end of a job. So I took the old tensioner out. It looks okay. I'm sorry, the old tensioner is here. It looks okay. It's just, I don't know. You can hear it's kind of dry. So whatever is in there, the bearings, whatever, are all done. It's not covered in oil. I thought it was going to be totally covered in oil, drenched in oil that was leaking from the top. But it's surprisingly not that bad. So let's put that back up there, and that's the new tensioner there. I also have the belts ready to go. Like I said, I'm just gonna put everything back in and start the car up and see what happens. So I'm gonna keep recording just in case there's any hidden tricks to this. In terms of the pulleys, I'm gonna start with the lowest one first. That's the big guy there. Then the second from the lowest, and then I'm gonna finish up by putting the tensioner pulley in. So see there, those empty spaces. I'm gonna do the lowest ones first and then move up. Okay. So guys, I got the all the new pulleys are in. The only trick was getting the tensioner pulley around this metal pipe here. You have to twist it sideways and it goes right in there. And after that, you have to seat it inside the socket there. What you need to do is go below it, kind of all the way down, come back up with it, and then it fits right in the groove. Don't try to like slip it in. It's kind of like weird how to explain it, but you want to go below it and then come back up and then slip it in like that. That was the only trick, but the other pulleys went in real easy. The torque on these are not too tight. Put the torque specs below that I use. So it's real easy, a lot easier than I thought, and I'm getting scared because I don't know what the trick is here. That's all the old stuff that I took out. One other thing, don't forget to put the caps on when from your new pulleys. That came with your new pulleys. So this is the tensioner. There's a seal back here that I realized when I was putting a new one in is missing on this one that I took out. But I did manage to find it, pieces of it. Apparently, it obliterated. It should be like a round rubbery seal, but it's very brittle and plastic. So I'm not sure if that affects the tensioner pulley performance, that little seal. But it was missing, and I realized it was missing. I only found pieces of it kind of below in that little pocket by the oil filter housing. And that's it, guys. That's the old belts. I'm gonna put the caps on before I install the belts, the belt back on there. So I don't know, I'm kind of nervous. This is a lot easier than I thought it was. I'm not sure where BMW was getting the crazy labor hours or fee that they were charging me. The only thing I did notice they wanted to replace was the shaft seal that goes behind that central pulley down there, the vibration pulley. And I saw a DIY of that, and I don't think that's so intense that it would add extreme amount of labor to this work. I'm not sure why they felt they need to replace the shaft seal, but I've seen it in other invoices for the belts and the pulleys. I don't know if it's something that you replace with the belts and the pulleys. So all right guys, I'm going to try to attempt to put the belts back on. So one other thing too, your new pulley will come with a stem inside the tensioner. Once you get the belts back on, you could push the tensioner down a bit, release the tension, and then pull this oil. It's called an oil, I think that's what it's called, and it comes right out, and then everything locks into place after, and then you should be done. So I'm going to put the caps on, belts on, and release the tension to see how everything goes. Start the car up, and hopefully it doesn't explode. Hey guys, I am done with the belts. I just have to assemble the air duct there. All right, the one trick with this is when you replace the belts, everything else is easy, but the hardest part of this is getting the belt on the last loop. I might have to do a whole other video on that, but I'm just quickly explain. Start with the bottom first, insert the belt, start with the big pulley there, loop it around there, like just dip it in there like a loop it up there. And what you're going to do is just start on this side. So loop everything on this side around those pulleys. Remove the little thing that holds that tensioner. You're going to have to remove that. I didn't realize I had to remove that. You have to remove that to get the belts back on. A lot of people don't. And I remember seeing some DIYs where people say the new belts couldn't fit on there. You have to remove that because that's going to limit the motion of the full tensioner pulley there. Once you remove that, you could swing your breaker bar, whatever you're using, is gonna pull that pulley all the way kind of over there to get it out of the way and create space to loop the belt back on. Now, what I was trying to do initially was trying to loop the last loop of the pulley onto that pulley there, but I realized the breaker bar that I was using on that torx was just in the way and I couldn't really get the belt over that pulley. So I just unlooped everything, and then I started to do this one, thinking that's the one I could loop. Basically what I mean by loop last is everything is around the pulleys except for that last pulley where you need that tension to be released to loop it on that last pulley. So what I did was try that one, but it didn't work because it kept slipping off of that. So what you're going to do is the last one you loop is the alternator pulley. I know the hose is in the way, but you could work around this hose. You do not have to remove that hose. So loop everything, pull back on that breaker bar as far as you can. You might need a friend to help you because it was very hard for me to do it one hand. It's really cold out here as well, so it doesn't help with the belt being new and stiff. So once that's done, pull back as far as you can, and like from like this angle, as you're pulling back, you're gonna like use the other hand and like just tuck it in, and it's gonna snap right over the lip of the alternator pulley. And the alternator pulley, I don't know if you could see it, it has a nice little lip there. So once the belt goes inside that lip, it just snaps in there, and the tensioner will hold, because once you release your T60, you're not even gonna feel it snap back. You're just gonna hold it in place there. So it's an interesting thing, but it was a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be. But that's the only trick, that last part of getting the belt on the last loop, the last pulley. There, I'm saying loop, but I mean the pulley. There's a series of pulleys you have to loop the belts around. So I'll give you guys my diagram. So what I was saying was the tensioner bolt is here, and you're gonna sort of like crank back and just loop it in the same kind of motion with the other hand over that alternator pulley there. So that's it. So you start with this one, and then you run it around here, and then you loop it back around. Do the tensioner pulleys, and then save the alternator pulley for last as you tighten on that tension. But that's it. It's straightforward. I'm not really sure where BMW got the $1,300, $1,400 labor for belts and pulleys. They really have to explain it to me next time I go over there. So that's it, guys. I'm pretty much done. I'm gonna put everything back together and start the car. Hopefully the engine don't explode. It's one of my biggest fears. But overall, this experience is easier than the E46, because the E46 automatics, you have to remove the fan, and that's in the way, and that's kind of a tricky thing to remove and install again too. So, but it's really straightforward. You do not have to remove the fan. You do not have to remove any hoses. The only thing you do have to unclip that gets in the way is this little thing, this little metal pipe. I'm not even sure what that is. I think it's an oil cooler line or something. So that's it. If you do have the sport package with the oil cooler there hanging over there, the oil filter housing, you might have to remove more things. But on the N55 basic 2011 335i, which is very unique, the engine is very unique to this car. Other engines have different pulleys, different configurations of where the belt runs, so keep that in mind. So this DIY is only for the 2011 or 2012, 2013 335i that uses the N55 engines. So I'm going to start up the car and continue shooting. Hopefully everything works. Success, everything works. The engine did not explode. I did have to go back in and reseat one of the pulleys. So I did kind of take the belts off and put them back on again since you saw me, since I recorded last. But everything looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and replace the air duct there and I'm good to go. The sound is gone, there's no sound anymore. I was afraid the shaft seal would have made a noise. That's why BMW wanted to replace it. But it sounds pretty good. The seal, I think I'm saying that right. The shaft seal, crankshaft seal, is not making a noise. I'm not sure why BMW wanted to replace that. I'm assuming they just heard the noise of the tensioner and maybe assumed the noise was also coming from the crankshaft. But it looks good. It sounds good. This is the hardest part. This is the hardest part of the DIY. Funny enough, putting this stupid air box back on, this air channel back on to the air box. I don't know. It's BMW engineering. I'm not sure. It's just so silly. But this is the hardest part of this, replacing engine belts on this engine. So what's up, guys? This is everything you need to do the belts. So the belts came in from ECS Tuning. I needed to order these from Amazon before I could do the work. You need a T60 to detension the tensioner and release the belts, and a T50 to remove the pulleys. And I'm gonna use these two breaker bars. If you've seen my channel, follow my channel for a couple of years, you know, and I've had this for about 10 years now. These are what I used when I did the belts 10 years ago on my E46. My 2001 330, and so I have all the pulleys ordered from ECS Tuning. I have the invoice here, so you guys could pause and see the parts number. I also ordered a rear brake service kit, and they do the kit yourself. They put it together for you. You just order it as one package, and that's kind of what I paid there. So these are the part numbers on ECS Tuning, and that's it. So